Sharon with soups and so on. I'm gonna make a dish today. It's a casserole that will feed a ton of people. And my grandkids call it my goulash. It's a Mexican goulash. And they all love it. And I've fixed this hundreds of times. I'm sure of that number, hundreds. And it's a dish that my grandkids love. They'll eat this when they won't eat anything else. And I can't help but think of William, my oldest grandson, when I make this. He and his lovely wife, Charmaine. I can always fix this for them and they're happy. They call me, Charmaine texted me the other day and said, Nanny, we haven't seen you for a while. They were gonna come by after work, and it's hard for them. They're a young couple, they have 2 little children. And I said, no, let me come to your house. You just pick up the kids, go on home, and I'll bring supper over. Well, I thought about it. I thought about doing a roast and mashed potatoes and stuff, and I thought, no, I've got this stuff here for goulash, and they both love it. And so I'll just make goulash. And the other day in one of my little videos, I did Spanish rice. So this is my favorite thing to do with leftover Spanish rice. And it's just the fastest meal you can ever put together. And most people really like it. So what I've got back here in my big skillet that I love, I've already cooked some hamburger meat. There's some onion, a little garlic in there. Crank the heat up a little bit. And I've already pre-cooked this. You know, I don't have a 30-minute cooking show. So I try to make this pretty quick. So this is about 1.5 pounds of hamburger meat that has already been browned. And I'm gonna add a couple of ingredients to that. Let me grab this thing here. And I've got a can of corn, a can of pinto beans, and a can of tomatoes. I've got this just in case. This is my magic little V8 juice that I like to add to things instead of like tomato sauce or whatever. And you can use any kind of beans. I've used black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans. I even used pork and beans one time in a pinch when I had this all going and didn't realize that I didn't have pinto beans. And you know what? I think I was married before I knew that pinto beans came in a can. In my house, they came in a bag like this. I don't think my mother ever used a can of pinto beans. And this was a ritual. This wasn't just a fast thing. The night before, she would sort them, looking for any little stone or rock or piece of dirt. Then she would rinse and rinse and rinse them, and then put them on a soak. They would soak overnight. And while I'm talking, I'm gonna add the corn, and this has a lot of liquid in it, and I'm gonna drain some of it off. So my mother would put them on the soak overnight. Next, the tomatoes. And beans weren't just a simple deal at my house, they were a big deal. You would think the next morning they would be ready to cook after soaking. No, not in my house. Mom had somehow heard about a theory. Where she got it, I don't know, because she didn't have Google. Probably from one of her sisters, Aunt Irma, Aunt Marguerite, Aunt Beta Helen. But she heard a theory, the baking soda theory. So the next morning she would put these beans on, and she would put a big spoonful of baking soda in the water. She'd bring those beans back to a boil, or bring them to a boil, and she let them boil 10 minutes. Not 5, not 15, but 10. And then after they boiled 10 minutes, she'd let them cool a minute, and then she'd pour all of that baking soda water down the drain. And the theory was that when you poured that water down the drain, It was supposed to eliminate the musical attributes of the beans. That's what was supposed to happen. You know, I'm an only girl in my family. It was just my mom and I had brothers and a dad. They delighted in Bean Day. Not because they love the beans so much, but I'm trying to say that this baking soda theory doesn't work. My brothers and dads, I mean, my dad and brothers, they had rules and regulations. They had competitions. They had categories. So I'm a witness that this baking soda theory is fake news, or it's all a scam. So what I'm trying to say is, if you find a little yellow dog-eared recipe in your collection from your aunt or your grandmother about this baking soda theory, it doesn't work, trust me. Just cook your beans. But that was my mom's theory, and bless her heart, she did it till the day she died. She still thought it would work, and we all knew it didn't. So in goes the beans. For my mother and I, it was totally disgusting. For those boys in the family, they loved it. So I've got the beans, the corn, and the tomatoes in. Next goes this Spanish rice. You'll probably have some left over, and I don't know how much I scrape in there, about 2 cups worth that I put in there. I'm gonna let that get hot. That's it, except for melted cheese. And if the beans were really, really dry, I would pour some V8 juice or tomato sauce or whatever you have over it. Chicken broth, beef broth, whatever. But don't stop there. You can put anything you want in it. A little can of diced green chilies, black olives. I've done all of that. The other day I had relatives here from California, and I was making this. It feeds a lot, and I was digging through my refrigerator. I found a little bit of dressing from a turkey I'd made. I dumped that in there. I think I had a little tiny bit of green beans left. I put that in there. You can hide a lot of stuff in there. Get rid of a lot of little things in your refrigerator. One time years ago I made it, and my husband said, "This is the best you've ever made. I hope you know exactly what you did." I told him, "You'll never get this again," because I had a little bit of breakfast sausage. I think I even threw a little scrambled egg in there. I just cleaned out my refrigerator. But that's basically what I normally use: is the hamburger, the leftover Spanish rice, a can of tomatoes, beans, and corn, and that's it. And of course, when it gets hot, I'm gonna cover it with grated cheese. But I'm gonna let it get hot. I'll be back in a minute. That's what it looks like as it's in there cooking. And there it is, with that cheesy goodness melting all through it. That's a very big skillet, and that's a lot of food, and it will feed a lot of people. Okay, it's time to dip some up. See this little thing? This is the cutest thing. I have a girlfriend that I went to high school with, Sandy. She'll always be Sandy Madrell. She's got a married name now. But she makes these. They're little bowl cozies. And they are so neat. She sent me one. They're insulated. And they are great for soups or hot dishes like this. Curl up on the couch and have your bowl in your hand without it getting hot. Thank you, Sandy, for sending that. It's adorable. But I'm gonna get a bowl of this out. Now, I know how to set a table, right? I put a napkin and fork and spoon and knife, everything that's needed, but my grandkids, they need no utensils for this meal. This is their way. This is what they do. They eat this goulash 1 scoop at a time. That's all they do. Most, they do, I think they have used a fork, but this is the way they eat it. And of course, wherever my salsa is, you gotta have some of that salsa with it. It's good to put a little bit of sour cream in it. Get creative with it, do whatever, but it is good and it's fast. It takes like, I mean, once you brown the hamburger meat, I had that done, of course, and of course the rice was left over, but it just takes minutes to put it together. It'll feed a lot of people, and most people really like it. So give it a try, and hit the subscribe button if you want to, and I really want you to. That really helps me if you hit the subscribe button. All that does is I think you have to give a password or an email. I think that's what you do. You sign up and it gives you a notification of when I put one of my videos on. It's not gonna drive you crazy. It doesn't cost you anything. But hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up. It's Sharon with Soups and So On. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.